Okay, so I am posting this just to give folks some pointers and tips and observations and landmines and pitfalls that you might run into if you attempt to change repair the instrument cluster or the multifunction display. I had the problem on both in a 2007 Prius, and I fixed them both, first the cluster and then the MFD, successfully, but not without a few issues. And I just want to share that with you. So the first thing on this is the guy that I followed his instructions as far as pulling everything apart. It is doable. It's a ton of stuff to take apart. And one of the things, so issue number one, as I was pulling it apart, if you look at the piece that he's holding in his hand right now, so like the vent panel deal on the driver's side in the middle of the car, I broke that, kind of broke it right where his hand is. I was able to put the thing back together. It looked kind of crappy. So I subsequently found another one. If you go on eBay, this is probably the one that's the hardest to find and the most expensive, because I think it breaks the easiest, and plastic that's 10 years old, 15 years old plus breaks easily. So that's problem number one. Resolvable, costs about 80 bucks. So got that all back together. The cluster, sent it into a service that fixed the known issue, which is a capacitor. That all worked out. That was about 70 bucks. You can find those guys on eBay. They turn it around, send you a new one that's been fixed. And anyway, so I put it all back together, then figured I'd tackle the multifunction display. So I followed this other guy's instructions right here. This guy that did a great job of describing how to do it. And so I just kind of followed what he said. He said he used the cheapest one he can find. I did the same one. I found it on eBay. I'm pretty sure the one I got is identical to the one that he's showing in here in his video. And here's problem number two. This is not a Toyota part. It's some like aftermarket cheapy deal. And so if you look at where the connector is, the actual connector, the one that you want, if you bought the one from Toyota, which I would totally recommend you doing it. So this is, again, problem number two, is this connector should be attached right here. So it would be a straight shot down to where, if you could envision where it's supposed to plug in, it would plug in right down here. So meaning that when you have this one, it's on this angle, it's torqued, and it's pulling to the side. Not good. And then, but if it just had a regular connector, it would be okay. But this is a very thin ribbon cable. The conductors are down here. There's like 4 or 5 conductors down here. And what you want it to look like, and what the one I took out looked like, is there's some side cuts in here. So those side cuts provide the friction fit for this thing to go in here. This just kind of just goes straight in there. With this one that you have here, it doesn't have that feature. Hence, when you plug it in, it's pulling from the side. You can't tell if it's seated or not. I don't think it really does seat. You just have to hope that you've kind of got it in there and it stays in place. It would just fall up by itself. So when I got to this stage and I saw where I was at, I was just going, I wish I'd never tackled this problem. And one of the things that you can do, as opposed to replacing this yourself, you can pull the unit out, and there's guys on eBay that will replace it. I think I saw one for about 150 bucks that you send the unit in here, and he does all this stuff, provides the screen, and gets it to work. In retrospect, I would have probably done that. That said, when I did it, it did at the end of the day worked, and couldn't be more surprised that it did work based on this issue right here. There are a ton of screws involved. This is, I don't know, not for the faint of heart to tackle, but at the end of the day, it did work for me. So that was issue number 2. Issue number 3 was when I was putting the thing back together, and I'm back to my buddy here who talks about how you can take this stuff and put it apart. This bolt, and there's one on the other side that also, one on the other side also, and this holds the multifunction display in place. When you put this in, the friction fit of getting this in, there's some, male-female friction connections here. It goes in there fine. You don't need these. It didn't line up, and I couldn't even, I tried putting the bolt in on this side, didn't line up. Went to the other side, I figured I'm just going to muscle the thing in, which I did, and I just engage the first few threads, and I'm torquing it in there, thinking, okay, I've got to, I'm cross-threading it, but I don't care. At least it'll be in there. But what I was actually doing, if you look at where it's screwing into in the back here, I'm not sure if this is plastic or very lightweight metal. I was actually spinning this around, so I twisted and distorted and completely messed this area up back here, enough to the point where it was distorted and was actually a little bit in the way of pushing this plastic vent piece back in. So that was number 3. So anyway, 3 pitfalls. This is a job that I think definitely not for the faint of heart to do this stuff, but if you're handy and patient, you can probably get it done. Breaking those plastic pieces, I think there's a good shot you're going to break it, especially with 10 to 15-year-old plastic for sure. So be prepared to fork out a few bucks to replace those. What else? Yeah, that Toyota screen for sure. Get the Toyota brand. Don't get the cheapest one like I did. Anyway, okay, hopefully that's helpful. Take care now. Bye-bye.